And we are live. We're going to give you a 2-minute lead for folks to join the live chat. And we will be right back. 2 minutes, because there's too much stuff to cover to wait any longer. All right, so here we're looking at the sun, obviously, in 171 angstroms. About 8 hours of activity there. And that sunspot is alpha class, so not very magnetically complex. Look at the 304 angstrom view also. A little bit of flaring coming out of there, by the way. And there's some great stuff, and there's a lot of stuff to get to on today's live stream. So no screwing around, but let's look at the magnetogram. Lots of stuff to cover. Anyway, this has been classified as alpha class now because the amount of magnetic mixing here is super low. I'm not going to get into sunspot classification, but if you head to, I'm sure solarham.net has information about that, as well as spaceweathernews.com. All right, let's look at some other stuff here, such as the real-time solar wind. And we've got this on 6 hours. We want to make this 1 day. Always look at your data, folks. Always look at your data. And don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. We'll leave links in the description. So we see the solar wind speed now at 426 kilometers per second. Solar wind density 5.77 protons per cubic centimeter. Not a lot of other extraordinary stuff happening there. Let's look at the gong too. Here's the latest images. And as predicted yesterday, we see a disappearance of the green portion because it's been pulled in by that sunspot. So, and I'll animate this in a moment here. Doesn't mean it's gone, folks. It just means it's being pulled in by that sunspot, creating a predominantly South Pole oriented current sheet. So you can clearly see it happening as a result of that sunspot. And there's a bunch of plasma sitting out there in the corona. So you see this last frame right here. This is some extremely dense plasma sitting out in the corona, and that's the magnetic effects of sunspot 2738. A great illustration of it. Let me turn this down a little bit. All right. So that's the Gone 2 information. Fairly predictable, as that sunspot has been fairly stagnant. It's pretty much not evolving very much and also not evaporating very much. Here's a great photo of it on spaceweather.com. Check out that flare yesterday. Man. Estimated energy released on that one was around 100 million World War II atomic bombs. We'll show you more stuff in a minute. And I would note that the 10.7 centimeter radial flux is now up to 79. So well above predicted values. And that's a good thing, because we don't really want to see an ultra minimum sun, folks. We got to call them like we see them. Some great aurora photos, as we always see on this channel. And let's go to spaceweathernews.com for some more data. So we see a bunch of B-class flares. There is some significant chance of a C-class flare, but it's calculated as pretty low, like about 15%, I believe. Now, as far as this magnetometer stuff, I think the GOES 15 might be messed up, folks. Because in order to get readings like that on two satellites that are that close, and when I say that close, what I mean is, you see these N's and these M's? Those mean local midnight and local noon for the satellite. So for those readings to be that different at the satellites, there would be, let's just say, there would be problems. Without explaining all the physics of how planetary orbits and things operate and how gravity actually works, let's just say those readings on the GOES 15 are anomalous. I wouldn't worry about them terribly, but I would worry about this spider that's on the wall right now, because it looks like a brown recluse. So you're going to have to just hold off for a minute, and I will be right back. Okay, it's not a brown recluse, and thank God for that. I'm just going to leave it there. If it bites me, it's not going to eat very much. All right, so we're looking at a KP of 2 right now. It has just dropped down from 4, and that just happened, as spaceweather.com was just listing it as a 4. I just wanted to verify. So always verify your data sources, folks. Super important. Here's the signets, and this is updated. And for that, we thank you. I would note there's a lot of really, really exciting astronomy stuff going on, like the Parker Solar Probe, as you see here, having completed its second perihelion with perfect instrumentation. We are waiting to see the data from the first run. Bring us the data. Release the data. All right, so there's your signets forecast. We've got the date stamps on there. If you got to rewind the video, hey, rewind the video. We can't leave this on the screen forever because there's too much stuff to cover. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff to cover. And I'm going to do it as quickly and as efficiently as I can. Now, these are not high electron levels for the non-relativistic electrons. Relativistic electron levels have been ultra high the past couple of days. And we're not going to get into the weeds on that either. It's associated with the sunspot. Let's just leave it at that. And thank goodness for that 79 10.7 centimeter radial flux. Charging hazards are pretty much non-existent. Slight surface charging over northern South America and Central America, as we usually see around this time of day. Now, the ionosphere is a little on the charged side, but looking pretty normal. Nothing to bunch up your panties over. Now, here's the relativistic electrons. We're not going to explain what they are right now, because again, there's too much stuff to cover. But there's the relativistic electrons, And we see we are approaching the highest levels we've seen in quite a while. And I would note that the highest level seen on this graph took place in August of 2018. And we talked about it on the daily. There's your solar cycles for all you new viewers. Cycle 24 is the pink line. And we are looking for an update on this as this chart is old. If you're not familiar where you're located, you're located in the Milky Way galaxy. So thanks for stopping by our channel. Milky Way galaxy team for the win! Here are the planets in your solar system, if you weren't aware. And let's just hope the sun is not on Mercury's orbit, as that could be bad for people's health. Hey, how about the desktop version? What do you say, since we're on a desktop? And there's a location of your planets. That was not the right button to press. All right, we're just going to advance this anyway. There are the planetary locations in 1 week. I wouldn't worry about the sun being in Mercury's orbit and vacuuming up Venus, because I don't think that's going to happen. Let's hope it doesn't happen. Here's the current Sunspot 2738 breakdown, compliments of solarham.net. So we've got the 171 view, the composite, the intensity gram, and the magnetogram. This track is called Gem Cutter, and I believe this one's available on soundclick.com/Golden Cat Productions. If you'd like to download or stream that, it is there. I think it's there. And if not, I'll put it there today. Mark my words. So we're talking about a 15% chance of a C-class flare here. And it has been downgraded to an alpha class. So might as well show you the LASGO C2 while we're here to see if we see any flares coming out. This one starts out on the 5th. Not really seeing any ejecta there, but you see a big plume of plasma there on the left in the corona. And that's sort of being held there by the Sunspot 2738. We're going to ignore the C3. Next, we'll look at your magnetosphere movies as we look at these daily. We'll go backwards this time and look at the pressure. And we see a very low pressure, which is not particularly surprising, as we've got a very low solar wind density. Solar wind speed is just kind of average right now, so the Earth is in a fairly charge receiving state. Next, we'll look at the ground perturbations at the poles. And while this plays, I will attempt to join the chat. So wish me luck. And there's the globe view, complete with date stamps for your viewing pleasure. All right. There's your ground perturbations, changes in the delta B, so changes in the B field. Let's look at cosmic rays at Mexico City. We'll leave links. There's a situation there over the past 30 days, that is. Here's the Enlil prediction. Keep in mind, we don't see any big flares or any big coronal mass ejections, and we've been watching daily. So here's the Enlil. Let me get that small enough. There we go. So the Earth has emerged from that stream of coronal hole wind. And keep in mind, it's just a model, folks, just a model. Next, we're going to look at the total electron content forecast. This will show you things like GPS errors, expected GPS errors, that is. And we're seeing slightly elevated electron levels here. Nothing too extreme. And part of the reason why I look at this is because I use GPSs nearly every day. And we're going to have some minor errors here in eastern Pennsylvania. So I'll be preparing for about, I don't know, something like 9 meters, 3 to 6 meters, I'll say. Now, different scales will actually, different interpretations of the same data will show you the raw error. I think this one actually shows it. Yeah, this one actually shows you the error. It's got the color scale actually contains 2 scales there. So we're looking at, let's see, that only goes up to about 4 meters. We're looking at about 4 meters of GPS error possibility. And the Pacific Northwest is typically a little higher electron content than the Northeast. So anyway, let's move on here. 24 hours of earthquakes. Got to make sure this is refreshed because I don't trust it. It's the government, and I don't trust it. Before we even look at these, I'm going to draw in the warning areas because these areas have an earthquake drought. So for these areas, have a preparation for a magnitude 7 earthquake. Because you're having a drought, and droughts usually end with earthquakes, don't they? All right, I don't want to beat any dead horses here. So we see a 4.6 at Alaska. See a 4.8 at Indonesia. And that is at depth, 117 kilometers. 4.6 at Japan. 4.6 central mid-Atlantic ridge. The location of that one. A 4.0 at Argentina. And that one is at depth. Let's look at windy.com to see where the low pressures are and get a little more in-depth into our earthquake forecasting procedures. All right. We actually do see some odd pressure gradients there. And part of that's because of the Andes, folks. So there's a lot of variables to look at with this, and we don't mind. I really wish it wouldn't do that, and I don't know why it does that. There's probably a setting, but I'm real reckless like that. You're allowed to know I'm in the Lehigh Valley. It's acceptable. I'm already a public figure, folks. Oh, jeez. All right, so here it's right around this area. Anyway, let's get back to earthquakes. It's something to do with the control button or something. I'm not sure. And I have no idea what I'm looking at now. Because this site is less than optimal. All right, here we go. This looks like a normal thing again. There we go. All right. There's a 5.1 at depth in Indonesia. I'm going to assume no tsunamis. And for that, we thank you. Maybe I should make this refresh top to bottom. Let me know in the description what you think. All right, so also a 4.9 very far south in the Baleine Islands region. 5.0 in Papua New Guinea. No tsunami there either, since there were no tsunamis on tsunami.gov at all. .9 at Kodiak. 5.1 at the surface at Tonga. Congratulations, a surface quake at Tonga instead of 500 kilometers depth. 4.1 at Mexico. Santo Domingo, Zanatepec. Great. 5.0 at El Salvador. 5.2 at Tonga, also at the surface, right in the same location. 4.9 Vanuatu at 210 kilometers deep. Now let's go to Windy and look at the lows around that area. And I really wish you would stop doing that, Windy, but hey, I'll take it. Windy also has a fantastic mobile app. I would say New Zealand and Fiji are the warning zone over here. Also, this low here is a little bit anomalous, but let's take a look at the winds at the 9,000 meter range. We use this to look at the jet stream. So we do see some wind currents here that are going slightly west. When you see a westerly facing wind current there and a low pressure, that's what you call an anomalous low. So I would say New Zealand. Heads up, New Zealand. South America. Not as bad as South America. I'd say the main zone of warning would be around here, around Oceania, folks. All right, anyway, let's look at the jet stream here. Still seeing wild swings in the jet stream, such as this region right here, where there's like a crazy low pressure system, an upper level low. And for those of you not aware, the jet stream is normally like this, not like this. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. So this is undoubtedly bringing some ridiculously cold air down here all the way to Africa. And oh, that reminds me. They've added a new layer to this, which some of our viewers will delight. Snow depth. Oh yeah. Gotta have your snow depth. So while I'm here, let's talk about how Greenland is melting. Oh, look at that. We see a little bit of snow in North Africa there, in Morocco. Check it out. So anyway, the Greenland ice sheet is melting, folks. I have terrible news for you. Terrible, terrible news. The Greenland ice sheet is melting. Now it is spring, so they do melt in spring. So let's zoom in and look at this glacier. I mean, poor Greenland. They're going to be out of snow. Look at this. Look at it. This thing is just melting away. Just melting away. I mean, we're all going to die because this is melting. So, I mean, within 12 years, the planet is going to self-destruct. It's clear. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders said so. So, I mean, look at this. It's like Greenland is just melted. Oh, wait. Let's zoom out here and look at the rest of the island. Oh my gosh, it's so melted. It's so melted that it's covered by 9 feet of snow, coast to coast. I'll just let that sink in. I'm going to let that on the screen for a minute. Greenland is melting. You know, it's caused by your carbon dioxide emissions. It's melting. We're all going to die. It's your fault. Stop flying on planes. Stop driving your SUV. And you know, if you've got dairy cows, just keep them inside because we don't want their utterly harmless methane to get outside and react with oxygen, which it does nearly immediately. We don't want anything like that to happen because we don't want the world to be destroyed. So we're doing the public a service here by explaining how melted Greenland is. You're welcome. Let's have a moment of silence for the melted Greenland, covered coast to coast by 9 feet of snow. Okay, that was long enough. Oh my gosh, will you Thank you, Wendy. Great. Let's look at lightningmaps.org. Goodness gracious. Look at this situation. Wow. Look at the convergence line down there. That is amazing. Let's get a little closer to home. Man, oh man. And we have run out of music, folks. I use that as a cue to tell me how long the video is. Some insider information for you. We're going to have to go look at this thing on the NASA Goes because look at that. That is just, there must be quite a system down there. So I ran out of music, kind of. Not really. I didn't really run out of music. I'm not sure if I can get Oceania on this, folks. All right, what are we looking at here? Anyway, I am on the wrong map. Let me go to the chat for a minute here. I apologize for the delay. I will be right back. Here's the water vapor over the Pacific. Complete with date stamps. Good morning, Dakota and Terrence and K. Vlad. And Manuela. And smAsho staff and Harry Vire. All right, this chat is not working very well for me. I got to use a different browser here. All right. Let's see if AccuWeather covers this. Never really tried looking this up before, so let's just see if we can find this. I thought there'd be more storm than that, folks. I'm not used to covering Australia weather, so bear with me. Anyway, there's your Canberra Doppler radar, as well as Tasmania and New Zealand. I'm not sure if I can get a satellite image of this or not. Oh, there we go. Duh. It says satellite right there. Hi. There we go. See if I can blow this big enough to make it relevant and get that stupid panda off the screen. All right. Anyway, there's the source of that electrical disturbance in the Tasman Sea. The Tasman Sea. I've learned something about geography today. All right, let's move on here. We don't want this to be like an hour long. It's going to be like an hour long, probably. By the way, that track is called, I don't even know what that's called, honestly. And I made it. How do you like that? It's called, oh, I don't know. Here's some amusement for you. We like to have comedic sections. Explicit language. Warning. Explicit language. I guess I better leave it out. Let's look at volcanoes for today, the 9th of April. First, we've got Kivaluch coming back to life with some explosive activity in a 13,000-foot ash plume. Kadivar with a 5,000-foot ash plume. bromo, 10,000 foot ash plume. We've also got Revenador with a 17,000 foot plume there, Sabancaya, 26,000 foot plume there. So that's a big explosion at Sabancaya. And Nevados de Chilean on the list for no volcanic ash emissions. And for that, we thank you. Next, we'll look at Stereo A's view. For you coronal mass ejection freaks. Don't be a fanatic about coronal mass ejections. Anyway, there's the run on that, complete with date stamps. Show your friends and share on social media, as we are shadow banned everywhere. How about a little vacation? How about a little vacation where you fly through an ejector seat? I mean, you fly through a jet canopy. How about that? Don't show me anything, Extreme Tech. One lucky passenger's dream turned into a nightmare several weeks ago after he was ejected on takeoff. So at a very low altitude, he suffered a back injury. We're not sure if he, check this out. We're not sure if he pulled the lever or not. Perhaps they should have given him instruction to not pull the lever. Here we go. All options for how the seat fired, including a possible manual trigger, were still being investigated. Ejection seat launches typically require the pilot to pull a switch located between their legs. Did the man accidentally grab the worst handle imaginable to brace himself on during takeoff? That's great English, by the way. Brace himself on during takeoff. Yeah. Here's a view of somebody ejecting at a very low altitude. If you don't know what it's like, it sucks because your chute might not open and you'll probably bounce off the ground. Let's see how this guy fares. He was fine. His canopy inflated. Let me just make sure we didn't have an extra article there. I think I might have missed one. There are a whole bunch of articles and exciting things, so stay tuned. Nope, we are on the right thing. All right. Now, let's talk about something we practically never talk about on this channel, transcendental meditation. Did a very interesting survey this morning, so we're going to leave links to this article for further reading about the balance of light and dark in you. So, I highly recommend the survey, which is linked in this article. And now keep in mind, I was a psychology major for about a year and a half. I took over 80% of the core classes for that major. So I kind of know what I'm talking about here. However, I am not a psychologist, thank goodness. I'm trying to find where the link is. Anyway, it's in there somewhere. There's a link to a survey in here. And you start looking at transcendental meditation, you may find yourself down a rabbit hole. It's one that you should head down. So check out this site also, Vipassana meditation. Now, this is referred by, oh, what the heck is his name? I can't remember his name now. The guy that crossed Antarctica on foot, unsupported, pulling a sled. Ultra endurance athlete. I can't remember his name. He was on Joe Rogan recently. You should absolutely watch that episode. Colin O'Brady, is that it? Something like that. Colin O'Brady, I think it is. He linked to this on his Instagram page today. If you need a meditation vacation, you can get one for free. So head to this site. If you need a meditation vacation, spend 10 days doing silence meditation and change your life in a very real way. Locations all around the world. So check it out. For instance, in North America, the closest one to me is in New York. So very close. And that one actually heads to, I'm not sure where that heads to, but let's look at the Mid-Atlantic states one. I'm not planning a 10-day meditation retreat, by the way, but I would highly recommend it if you're able, especially if you're stressed. The phys.org article about a study showing some improvement in plastics technology. So that's some good news. We will eventually get links in there also. And before I move on, here is another original track. It's all we play here. And I keep stopping on the ones that are controversial and will not appear on this YouTube channel as a result. All right, what else do we have here? Midgetized digitization. Almost done with the report, folks. A couple more items here. And some really exciting ones. Exciting ones like a fundamental misunderstanding of cosmology, which is why astronomers think asteroids may have had volcanoes in them. I'm not kidding. This is a real article. So maybe they started out as molten iron blobs, which is entirely probably what they really did do. What their problem is they're not aware of how the heating happens. And there's a massive misunderstanding of thermal radiation in space. And it's going to be cleared up pretty soon because there's too many smart people doing too many things for the current state of affairs in astrophysics to continue. We'll leave links to that article also. I just got it from phys.org. It's probably on several different places. As it is a breakthrough, volcanism and impactors are really the only thing in the toolbox for astrophysicists, and it's kind of an ongoing thing. And David Devine just appeared on our video by Skyping me. All right, so. And if you've tuned in, David, welcome to the live chat. And if you're watching later, thanks for that. All right, so we are in a neo-renaissance, folks. And there's some fascinating science coming out tomorrow. By the way, there'll be six, what do you call them? I can't remember words today, folks. There'll be 6 press conferences around the world tomorrow about a new breakthrough. But first, let's talk about this one. Researchers use genomic data to map refugia. where North American trees survived the Ice Age. Oh yeah, look at that. Right around the New Madrid fault zone, by the way. You think that's a coincidence? Maybe. Anyway, we're talking about bitternut, hickory, and I don't know. I'm not a botanist. It's not my area of expertise, but it's a super interesting article, and it has to do with the last ice age. So we'll leave links to that also. Let's get on to the big news. We're just going to go to a Yahoo article here because I couldn't find any. I didn't really look for it too hard because this is all over the internet. Scientists set to unveil first picture of a black hole. And let me pause the music just to cite how ridiculous it is to suggest you could have a picture of a black hole. If light can't escape a black hole and you need photons to take a picture, how are you going to have a picture of a black hole? Dr. Robitaille, come on, tune in. Back me up here. It is good news, though, as it's going to be a very high-resolution image of Sagittarius A star, the galactic core of the Milky Way. So it's part of the reason why I'm pretty excited about it and saying Milky Way Galaxy team for the win. Tomorrow, I will be live streaming during one of these conferences because this is one of the most important astronomical data shares, I guess you'd say, in my lifetime. And I'm not going to say a single word about whether black holes are real or not, because the galactic core is super important, regardless of what the physical activities that underlie its radio emissions are. So I like to call it a massive radio source, and I've been doing that for the last decade and a half. Actually, over 20 years, I've been calling these things radio sources because that's a concise explanation of what it is without getting into a quagmire of swampy physics. Going out to the shop today, and when I say the shop, I mean the Velo Shop. You can visit them at theveloshop.net, and I'm going to be checking out one of these, the Felt AR3. I believe it will be a 2019 model, but it's going to look exactly like this. We may look at the possibility of redecaling this. I'm not sure how easy it is with this particular type of bike, but I'm pretty sure these sit on the outside of the carbon. So check out veloshop.net if you too are interested in cycling. If you got an old bike sitting around not working, get yourself some tires and tubes or something, refresh that thing, go out and do something that's hard. Put some adversity into your life. Continental Gator Skin's a huge popular tire. It's got a Kevlar. I'm just unable to come up with words today, folks. It's got a Kevlar sheath inside of underneath the tread here. And it's a little expensive, but this thing, I mean, you can run these things into the ground. There's even extra material, I believe, on the rubber. The Continental Gator Skin. Not a tire that I use personally, but I'm a real weirdo when it comes to tires. So they've got great choices here. Please visit their store if you feel like ordering some. Personally, I'm a Vittoria, Vredstein, Panaracer, and Kenda guy. And I'm sure some of those brands are represented here also. And I'm sure some of these brands I've never even heard of, which makes me very interested in them, as I am a tire elitist. Geez, oh whiz, they even sell factory-studded fat bike tires. So if you want to ride around on a frozen lake, and it's awesome, by the way. I've never done it, but I would. Let's close things out at helioviewer.org, as this is getting very long. And I guess I've got to bring out the chat too. Sometimes I stay logged in as myself. Bring out the pop-out chat here so I can see who's saying what, as it's pretty tough to do as many things as I try to do at once. And as some more data has come through since we started the video, let's get another hour of data and look at the 94 angstroms view. All right, there we go. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. There's the high speed view. Now this 94 angstroms and 131 angstroms, those take 10 photos per second instead of only 2 photos per second. So they take 5 times as many photos, which is why I call this a higher resolution. It shows you more temporal detail, if that makes sense. Oh yeah, and that spider that was on the wall a while ago, I don't see it anymore. And let's just hope it's not on me somewhere. That's okay. Cave Lad, you saw it. It was 9 feet, right? 9 feet. Oh, that's not the right thing at all. 9 feet of snow on Greenland, folks. 9 feet. Yeah, the ice sheet goeth. Not really. We had a viewer from Scotland who said even last year some snow was very persistent into the summer. Just an anecdotal report, folks. Just an anecdotal report. Carbophobic propagandists. Yes. Carbophobic propagandists. I'm actually a carbophobic propagandist myself. Well, I guess I'm not a propagandist. I'm just carbophobic. And if you think you need carbs, I did a 40-mile road ride on Sunday, and I did it on 0 carbs. I ate a bit of a boneless chuck roast and an egg, and that was what my 40-mile ride required, as it was not at a high enough intensity for me to require carbohydrates. All right. The magnetometer happened when the solar wind moved through the Earth and slightly charged electrons in its push-pull situation. I think the magnetometer needs calibration, or the magnetometer is damaged, because there is no way that there's that big of a magneto-hydrodynamic disparity between the 15 and the 16, or whatever those. I think it's the 15 and the 16. The 15, the one that's showing that high reading, I don't believe it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I believe that would be catastrophic if that was happening. There would be things happening that would prevent this conversation from happening. Let's look at another view here. 193 angstroms before we get out of here, because once again, we're going out and doing a lot of things. And there you have it. Sunspot 2738. Not really any kind of a big deal. And yeah, Milky Way Galaxy team for the win. So tomorrow's a big deal. That's going to be all over everywhere. And I have no choice but to live stream during it. I'm not sure which conference I'll look at. I'm going to try to find out what all 6 of them are and where they are. And if you've already figured this out, please leave a comment and let me know. So we are out of here. Milky Way Galaxy team for the win. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks, donors, subscribers, viewers, etc. Probably another video going to come out this afternoon also. And most definitely a stream, probably 2 streams tomorrow. So a lot of stuff happening. Thanks again. We are out. Oh, and since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your arteries.